So I'm really excited to be with all of you today. We're going to be dropping in about relationships and how to navigate Akashic readings and Akashic readings related to relationships, because it's a very common question. Relationships are such a huge part of our lives and what is really important and significant to people. So they're really common questions. And they're also common areas of inquiry in our own personal lives. And something that I've observed in the Akashic reading community at times, as well as the psychic community, is that when somebody asks a question on relationships, there can then be a focus on the other person, wanting to know where they're at, or even in a very innocent way, bringing forth attention to them around what is occurring. Like, oh, I can see why the state of your relationship is this way. It's because they XYZ. And I just want to pause for a moment and also welcome Crystal and welcome James and give you guys a big hug. Send my love. Thanks for being here. So yeah, we're dropping in about relationships today. And I feel like the foundation for why I felt inspired to share about relationships is to communicate how important it is when someone brings up anything about relationship that we bring the focus to them, even if they're wanting to focus on the other person. It has become so prevalent within humanity that when we have a challenge in relationship, it's the other person's fault, or it's someone else's fault, or there's some sort of external locus of power, some sort of external place to be focusing on, where we believe that's the issue. But the reality is that all of our experiences, including the experiences that we are co-creating in relationships, are reflections of something that we bear within. It's very common for the ego to come up with certain conclusions around, oh, well, they are a narcissist, or men are like this, women are like this, the world is like this. Even coming to conclusions about certain communities, like I'm on Maui right now, like, oh, the people on Maui are like this. Yet these proclamations, these judgments limit us. They limit what is possible for us to experience. The truth of what is possible for us to experience is infinite possibility. And when we place these labels onto a person, which we inevitably do to some degree or another through our projections based on our past experiences, either with them or with other people, we actually impose this energy into the relationship that limits our capacity to experience what is really, truly there, which is always limitless possibility. And of course, we don't want to live from a place of delusion. We want to, be grounded in the reality of the nature of whatever it is that we are experiencing in relationship in our lives. So I'm not talking about being delusional, being hopeful, wishing for something that isn't really real, all in the name of limitless possibility. But I'm speaking more to recognizing that we are playing a role in whatever it is that we're experiencing. And as soon as we bring our attention to the other person, believing that it is their fault that we are experiencing this, that we're experiencing a certain dynamic because of who they are, how they are, because of their traumas, whatever it may be, then we are diminishing our power. And if we want to change our experience of relationship or have a new experience of relationship, we need to bring the focus to ourselves. What is this experience reflecting about me? And it's not always what we think it is. And it doesn't mean that the other person's responses, reactions, ways of relating to us are our fault. It just means that there's something inherent for us to learn and to grow from within every experience that we're having, including every single relationship. So the foundation for relational readings are radical self-responsibility, bringing the focus back to the person, and also supporting them in differentiating between them and the other person. I've seen a propensity for people to take responsibility for what's not theirs to take responsibility for, meaning perhaps the other person's reactions, the other person's wounds, the other person's trauma. That is on them. And when we take responsibility for it, we can internalize it, make it our fault. And that's what has us get really triggered and really defensive. When we can allow their experience to be theirs, their wounds to be theirs, who and how they are to be on them. And when we don't personalize it, then we set them free, we set ourselves free, and we are allowed then to focus our energy where it actually belongs, which is on us, and where it actually can catalyze the greatest change. In readings with other people, or even in readings with yourself, you'll know that there's like a misplaced, people are misplacing their power, or you're misplacing your power when you start to hear stories that sound like victimhood. Like, I'm a victim to their anger, I'm a victim to their traumas, to their wounds. I'm having this experience of relationship and it's so not what I want, and woe is me. From Akashic perspective, we're never really victims. Each one of us, at the level of the brilliance and intelligence and sovereignty and autonomy of our soul, is choosing every experience that we have. And our soul would not choose an experience for us unless it bared gifts for us. Unless there was something relevant, empowering, healing, expansive for us to receive from that experience. So anytime you hear someone going into stories of victimhood in relationship, it's important to redirect their attention to their own power, while also validating their experience. Because we never want to invalidate someone's beliefs or perspectives, even if it's a belief and perspective in victimhood. But it's in these moments about offering another perspective that does not in any way have you as the practitioner feed their stories. I feel like it can be really tempting when people ask about relationships. Like, people often come to these readings wanting to know, like, oh, like, how does this person feel about me? If it's like in the realm of romance, or like wanting to share, their stories of victimhood, like, no person will commit to me, or every person that I get into relationship with is like this, or it's like a lot of focus. It's a lot of misplaced focus. And we have to be so mindful to not just like ride the stream of wherever their attention is going. We really want to bring it back to that person and facilitate an experience that is empowering. It's like we're bringing a mirror right up to them, because the only place from which we can create change, the only place from which we can grow, the only place from which we can source power is from within ourselves. So as people start asking these questions, you can start to inquire in the Akashic records, how is this being before me the source of this issue? How are they contributing to this issue? And Why is it a gift and a blessing in their lives? Why is it relevant for them to be experiencing this? Once they have the awareness of the gift inherent within their experience, they can receive the gift. And once they receive the gift, that experience no longer needs to exist. It no longer needs to perpetuate itself, because all experiences exist to serve us in some way. So all of our relational dynamics, all of our relationships serve us in some way. And once we've received whatever that is, then we can grow beyond that experience, that relationship, and experience a new one, which is ultimately what people are wanting when they come to us for Akashic record readings. They're wanting to grow. They're wanting to create a new experience. They're wanting to manifest the relationship of their dreams and experience divine union and experience harmony and intimacy and a love that feels like love, that feels like the mutual support, the coming together of two people to benefit both of their lives. And that's always what's happening on some level. Like, we're always benefiting each other's lives. It just may not appear that way. Yet there's always a benefit. There's no such thing as a toxic person. There's no such thing as a toxic relationship. There's no such thing as a narcissist even. A narcissist does not exist as a narcissist outside of relating, whether it's them relating with life or them relating with another. And when it comes to like what we call toxic relationships, it's just toxic dynamics, toxic ways of relating. And even those, to use the word toxic, really it's just unconscious. And in order to have a toxic relationship, an unconscious relationship, it requires two people. And that's always the case. And I see people shying away from exploring the way in which it takes two people to create that type of dynamic, because they don't want to something here. Okay. Because they don't want to go into, blaming the victim, so to speak, or unconsciously leading someone to take responsibility for something that is not theirs to take responsibility for. You're never responsible for someone else's way of being at all. But you are responsible for what it is that you co-create with, what it is that you engage with. If you engage with someone's so-called toxic ways of relating, then that toxicity becomes yours to heal and to clear. What's not yours to clear is, or heal, what's not yours to heal is the other person. So creating that differentiation for people, like a good question when you're in the Akashic records, when people are coming to us when these types of questions is, okay, what is theirs to take responsibility for that they haven't been taking responsibility for? And what is theirs to let go of that they have been taking responsibility for? We often unconsciously take responsibility for how the other person behaves towards us, and that is not our responsibility. That is entirely on them. It's really important in relationship to truly honor the sovereignty and autonomy of the person that we are in relationship with. They are free to be who and how they are, and it is not their job to fit the mold of what it is that we want in relationship. So we have to enter into relationship with our eyes wide open, like, okay, who is this person really? Am I ready, willing, and available to accept them as they are, right here and right now? Also, can I receive the medicine of each person? Because every person comes bearing medicine for our soul. And once we've received it, is it relevant to continue relating here? Or am I continuing from a place of attachment? What is the true inspiration deep inside? What is the greatest new expression of this relationship. The ego is naturally afraid of change because the ego is striving to survive, to continue to exist as it is. That's the whole point of the ego. It allows for this whole experience of life where we all believe that we are separate and where we all believe in these, human stories that are our lives. So the ego in some ways resists change. So it creates these tactics to do that. And it's all a very healthy part of existence. We could not have this experience without the ego and without these tactics. But one of the tactics is, in trying to remain the same, it's blaming the world outside. And that doesn't create change in relationships. Akashic perspective, when we're sharing readings in an empowering way, reveals that the source of all of their experiences is always them. And it does not feed into the idea that anyone could possibly be a villain, or that anyone is a victim, or also that anyone is a savior. And this is a really big one in readings, this triangle, because so many of us come to readings thinking that, we will be the saviors or wanting a savior. And we have to be really mindful to show up in a way where we're continuously giving the power back to them, like over and over again, reflecting to them the power that they yield inside to be their own savior. And to also recognize that there's nothing that they need saving from, because there's no villain, because they're not actually a victim. Whatever they're experiencing, especially in the realm, well, in all realms, but in relationship, is serving them in some way. Does anybody have any questions or anything they'd like to share? And welcome, Jessica. Welcome, Carmen. I see you just joined us. Hey, I love being here with you guys.
Daniela,
Yes.
going off of a love relationship and just into one-on-one relationship, because everything is relationships, right? Uh, Attempting to draw that person away from their cycles of continuing thoughts that are old thoughts that seem to be uh, uh, detrimental to their being. And can you just give some
Yeah.
examples of how to maybe get them out of that
Yes.
and bring them out of that?
We never get someone out of their detrimental cycles.
Okay.
We never bring someone out of their detrimental cycles. That immediately is taking us into the role of the savior and into imposing our will, our desire onto another being.
Right.
We need to hold every being with utmost respect for their autonomy, for their sovereignty, and accept wherever it is that they are and choose to be, and whoever it is that they are choosing to be. What we do is we get ourselves out of those cycles.
Right.
And it can be very natural when it's someone that we care about, that when they start going into these disempowering cycles of maybe these old thought patterns of things that are detrimental to their being, for us to like join them in that and then try to stop that from occurring by stopping them from even starting with that. But really, that's the whole point of this call. It's to communicate the importance of us all to bring it back to ourselves. Like, we don't get to do anything for anyone else. We don't have to save them. We don't even have to help them. We serve them by being the example. When we no longer energetically feed into these cycles, these karmic cycles, these whatever it may be, detrimental thoughts or detrimental ways of relating, we hold a very clear field where love comes through, where compassion comes through, where healthy boundaries come through. A healthy boundary reveals to you that it's not your job to get the other person to do anything. It's not your job to get the other person to stop. You simply get to do you to the max. And if whatever they're doing is bothering you, then you address that within yourself. It's like, okay, where am I tempted to or susceptible to relate in a way that I don't want to be relating when someone else starts relating to me in that way? Where am I still susceptible to these cycles of drama, of feeding trauma? We clear that within ourselves, and then the way that we show up becomes tremendously healing naturally. Not because it's imposing on another, like, I have this goal for you, I need to stop you doing this. It's because we've taken radical self-responsibility for the ways in which we have been feeding that within them by engaging with it. And when we stop engaging with it, we find that either that person no longer like it no longer triggers or bothers us when they start relating from that place. Or maybe we don't feel a resonance with them. It's like life naturally just, we stop relating to them in that way. Like we stop maybe relating with them so much. Something always shifts. When it shifts within us, it shifts in our external world, period. There's no mistake here. Nothing here is random. Every single communication that we have with someone, every single person that we meet, it's all divinely orchestrated, and it's all reflecting something within us. There's nothing that could ever happen in anything in life that isn't happening for some reason. When we shift, the world outside shifts. When we shift, the people around us naturally shift. As soon as we try to get the shift to happen in them first, it's not going to shift because we're misdirecting our power. We're thinking our power comes from changing them. It comes from changing us. Does that answer your question, John? That's such a good question. That is what I'm personally feel like I'm awakening out of at this time in a relationship. Like, whoa, I don't need to get someone to treat me kindly or to behave a certain way in a relationship with me. I actually have to just take radical responsibility for my responses, for my reactions, for everything I'm holding within me, and essentially hold the field for myself of what it is that I want to experience in a relationship. And when you're doing that powerfully, someone can literally be pointing their finger at you, blaming you for something, and you can still be in the energy of feeling loved, honored, respected. And then in that space, recognize, oh, this is not personal. This is not actually about me. They're talking from their wounds right now. They're speaking from their trauma. They're speaking from their triggers. This is theirs. And then we get to give people back what is theirs instead of trying to take it. The real toxicity, I think, comes from taking on, internalizing other people's stuff, internalizing their experiences of us, their perspectives of us in ways that aren't meant to be ours to internalize. It's like someone's telling us, oh, you're such a bad person, you're a liar, you're this, you're that. Recognizing that moment, oh, that is this person's experience of life. They've had so many experiences with people that have lied to them, that have betrayed them, that have been bad people to them. And now they're interpreting everything that I do from that lens. Like, oh, I see what's happening. And then we don't have to like defend, and we don't have to start to, plug into that accusation. We can listen with compassion. We can really hear them and feel them. It's pretty much impossible to like maintain those heightened states of trigger by yourself. If someone's truly listening to you and holding compassion, the energy will naturally dissipate in time. It does, however, depend upon how much trigger that person is already carrying from past experiences. But know that it's not about you in those moments, so that you can keep your energy clear and still like maintain your own personal sense of safety, or whatever it is that you like, whatever reason that you have for wanting to change the other person's behavior. Like, oh, I want to change their behavior so that I can feel safe, so that I can feel honored. Cultivate that feeling of safety and of being honored within yourself. Be willing to set whatever boundaries may be necessary to create that. Take responsibility for it. Like, if you need to step out of the dynamic because you feel yourself getting triggered and you know that it's not calling out the sides of you that you want to be relating from, then you take responsibility for that, and be mindful of any way in which you may be wanting to blame the other person. Like, oh, this is your fault. You started this, you did this. You're inherently blaming them for their wounding, for their trauma, for their like incredibly painful perceptions of people, which are based on their past experiences. Blame is a distortion. It's a complete distortion in our perspective, because at the end of the day, each and every being is innocent. They're always doing the best they can. It's helpful to know that the only person that ever has to change is you, in order to change what you're experiencing. And that can facilitate miraculous changes in your relationships, or it can just have you feel like, oh, I'm not really drawn to connecting with this person anymore. And life has a magical way to it. It'll just, it's not relevant anymore. It'll bring people apart. It'll transition relationships in a way that feels aligned, that feels true. I feel like sometimes people like want to end relationships from a place of like being right on the brink of that breakthrough, where they're about to have like a massive realization, which is ultimately a massive ego death. When you have a realization, it changes who you are, and an aspect of your ego dies. However, we also, it's, it's a balance, because it's just such a balance. There's so many aspects to it all, that there's so many different perspectives that we can look at, because it can be so valuable to push through a challenge, and it can also be so valuable to end a relationship when there's a challenge. And in those moments, it's knowing that you can't make a bad or wrong decision. Pushing through a challenge can catalyze an incredible realization and open your heart ever more. And ending a relationship can have you maybe embrace like greater depths of your self-worth, of what it is that you are willing to engage with, tolerate. Either decision is so valuable. I saw Julie's hand.
Yeah, Julie's. So I totally get all that, and I have practiced it, but in my situation, I have moved out of state back to the home state of my aging parents, and my parents are just masters at this drama victim perpetrator triangle. And so this is not a relationship that I can exit because I'm here to actually be of service to them, as you know, they're 80 and 82 years old. But my mother she will perpetrate in a way so she can remain the victim. And it's insidious stuff. And, it's one thing to end a relationship, but it's another thing when you're here to humbly be of service to your aging parents. And so, it's challenging because I've been working with this letting go of any of agendas of trying to make them change. They're 80 and 82. It's not going to change. But, there's also the boundaries that I need. And I see about the changing within. I've seen some of that go into practice. But when some of this stuff just comes flying right at you, it's, I want to hear what you have to say. And in a situation where it's not a relationship that I can exit, and I get all the stuff about turning things inward. But just, in the scenario where all of a sudden I'm being attacked so my mother can remain the victim, because that's what she did. She perpetrates so she can be the victim, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
I'll just give you an example of my nephew's birthday. And the whole family's there, and we've had a wonderful time. And all of a sudden my mom, blurts out, "Well, Julie, you've been talking the whole time. It's all about you." What do you do with that? What do you do with that? I just looked at my friend and said, "Yeah, it's time to go." But, I'm just curious, and how can you compassionately, lovingly set boundaries and deflect those things? So I just want to know what your feedback is.
So it may feel like it's a relationship that you can't leave, but it is a relationship dynamic that you can leave. And begin to notice the ways in which certain reactions are actually feeding the dynamic playing out within you. She is entitled to believe that you've been talking only about yourself. She can make a rude comment about it. That's part of her freedom as a sovereign, autonomous being. She can do that. She can relate to you in that way. And you can receive it as, oh, my mom just thinks that I've been talking about myself the whole time and is frustrated about it. Period, done. That's it. Instead of internalizing it, thinking like, oh, she's attacking me, noticing how oftentimes when people are so in that, victim villain story, it brings it up in us. Like any remnants that are left in us get brought up. So then they attack, and then we feel attacked, and we go into our own version of it. And at that point, it's no longer actually them, it's us. We are engaging with, we are feeding that story, that way of behaving, knowing that any way your mom behaves, anything she says, you're not a victim of it. It's like taking a breath in those moments, like, okay, this is her perspective. She is free to have her perspective. I respect her, I honor her, and I love her, and I'm not going to engage. It's like we have the power to someone saying something to us that like a part of us could interpret as so rude and as an attack. And in that moment, recognizing, okay, this is not about me, and being okay with it, and just continuing in the direction of our preference. Like if the direction of your preference at that party was, I want to keep, talking to people and having fun and enjoying myself and connecting, then it's like, okay, whoa, like this just came at me. I'm going to continue walking in the direction of my preference. My preference is connection. My preference is love. My preference is compassion. I cannot even imagine what you must have gone through in order to create these templates for relating like this. And I'm not going to blame you for it. I'm not going to shame you for it. I'm also not going to engage in it with you. I'm not going to fight with you for it. I see the innocence. I respect your freedom, your sovereignty, your autonomy. And I'm going to keep doing relationship my way. I'm going to speak to you with respect no matter what. I'm going to hold standards for myself in relationship for what it is that I prefer to experience. And it doesn't matter how you talk to me, how you treat me, what you believe, I'm going to uphold these standards on behalf of myself because I know what I deserve in relationships. And if you want to say things that could be interpreted as hurtful, that's okay. I love you and I accept where you're at, and I'm not going to internalize it. I'm not going to make it about me, and I'm not going to fight back, and I'm not going to get caught up in the whole villain victim thing. And little by little, we get clearer. Like really challenging relationships, I feel like get a bad rap sometimes. It's like, oh, this is bad. This is bad for us. Yet really, they're the ultimate training grounds. And I feel like a huge part of why we are in this human experience is to learn about relationship and to learn about sovereignty, autonomy, stop imposing our desires for what it is that we wish to experience on another person, as if it were their responsibility, the role of their life to provide that for us. They have their own lives. They get to make their own choices, whatever it is that they want for their lives and their relationships. Instead, we get to hold and create that for ourselves. Does that help, Julie? Yeah.
It's just so insidious. It really is. And you can get all this stuff intellectually, but it's, I mean, our parents, that's the biggest classroom. It really is our biggest classroom and the oldest and most ingrained triggers. Um, so it's one thing to totally understand this and to even, to muster up all your strength to bring it into power when it happens. But, it's still hard not to let it, oh my God, here we go again. Why is this? It's really, even though I intentionally know I'm not going to be a victim of this. It's just so ingrained. So it's practice. It's just practice. That's all it is. It's just the opportunity to have to practice at it. So, it's also why I know I'm back here too. I know these bigger lessons that need to, we're all about lessons, it's just happening over and over again. And so when I had this premonition to move back here, it's like, okay, this is going to be a big one. And here we are. So the timing of taking your course was just perfect for this. So thank you.
Yay. I'm glad. Yeah, what helps me? I guess something that helps me is like not taking it so seriously as well. Like not taking life so seriously. I love Akashic perspective because sometimes I go like so deep in there and I realize like the other day I had this realization of like, oh my gosh, I'm not from here. Like meaning I had like another aspect of me that was living in a whole nother world and a whole nother galaxy that was so radically different from like being embodied like in 3D form. So sometimes that awareness helps me not take what happens here so seriously and feel it more as like an experience. It's just like one experience of life. I'm having one experience of life in this physical body, relating to other people. And when I look at it from that perspective, it feels a little bit easier to treat it as a game. And the game for me is to open my heart to even more love, to expand in my spiritual awareness, to like develop myself. That is the game and for me. And then when I orient myself in that way in relationship with other people, they can be like super triggered and super intense, and it just becomes like a bigger challenge, which is actually benefiting me even more. It's like, oh wow, like the victim villain mentality is so insidious in them. It is really finding all the places where it still exists within me, even if they're teeny tiny, because when it's so intense in someone else, it's like really calling it out in us, even if it's just a little bit, because they're holding that field so powerfully. We're so impacted by each other. We are these sovereign, autonomous beings, but it's a paradox. We're also one. So we're deeply impacted by another. So it's an opportunity to, in that moment, recognize how their field is so strong. And it's like warrior training, because it's going to pick up any little remnant of victim and villain within us. And what a blessing, because now in our relationships moving forward, we won't be relating in that way. And that type of like intense challenge can set us up for like the most incredible romantic relationship or business partnership or something like that. So knowing that everything that we're experiencing, it's not bad for us, it's not toxic to us, it's not harming us, it's revealing to us what's inside, so that we can grow, so that we can heal. And our growth and healing always leads to like better and better and better. Like our relationships get better and better and better. Our careers, like our health, our state of being, it's always getting better and better and better. So it's leading us towards our what we prefer, towards what we want. Always. There are no exceptions. However, we have to receive it in that way. Because if we receive it as like, this is toxic, this is bad for me, our beliefs are so powerful. We're going to start directing that energy into our systems, into our bodies, into our minds, our spirits in a way that is actually toxic for us. But if we think, oh, this is warrior training, like empowering more of my heart, then that's what you'll get. We're so powerful in our beliefs and perspectives, so powerful. It's truly formulating our experience. Carmen, I see your hand.
Hi, my love. Hi, Daniela, and hi, everybody.
Hi, Carmen.
Hi. And I have my camera off. I just got off work. Anyway, I can see you all, and I would love to be seen. I also had an injury on my head, and I've got a Band-Aid, and I feel self-conscious.
Oh.
But I love you, and it's so good to be here and in this field of love and consciousness. And I wanted to offer a question to see if there's anything you can share about it. Love what we're learning here. Love the ownership of our own freedom and responsibility and sovereignty in all of our relationships, all of our dynamics. That's really powerful. Love it. I have noticed in the area of romance with men. I mean, like, I like to have a romantic life fully, just with everything and everyone. And with men, for some reason, it has been very elusive and like almost, but not really connecting. And that's happened repeatedly. Or an amazing guy, but I'm really not that attracted to him or into him. So it seems like it's in my periphery, but not really landing. And I'm curious, what is it in me or God or my timing that's creating that?
Okay, I'm actually going to take a moment to drop in to Akashic perspective for this question.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You're looking gorgeous.
Thank you, Carmen.
Isn't she, you guys? Oh, don't we? Okay, I'll be good. And hi, John. Okay.
Love you, Carmen. Thank you. And Carmen, I'd love to invite you to drop into your Akashic records.
Oh, I'm so going there right now. Thank you.
Beautiful. Spirit, support me in grounding into soul level truth, so that I may serve as a clear channel for your love, guidance, and perspective. Set aside the totality of my personality and allow me to see Carmen as Carmen is seen in the light of the Akashic records. Help me to know Carmen as Carmen is known in the mind of spirit, and enable me to share all the communication of Carmen's ethereal beloveds with integrity, clarity, and love. And so it is. The Akashic records are now open. So I saw a few things that feel like they align you with the frequency of partnership. And one of them was to receive energetically what it is that you're desiring in this now moment, in this present day moment. That receiving of it helps anchor it into reality. I'm also seeing an opening of your heart. There's so much beautiful, multi-dimensional, powerful, juicy, delicious, very full spectrum heart energy to you. It's very full spectrum. It's very like varied, like just so many different yummy bits of your heart. And it's about shining, emanating, opening to the full spectrum experience of that, of what it is to be you, to love the way that you do, to feel the way that you do. There's so much potent feminine energy and like love and desire and emotion and like, whoa, there's truly a bigness to you. And you have the opportunity to unleash, to like open up to more of it, you within yourself for you, which actually then it makes you very like visible to a beloved. Being mindful not to stifle it and to become aware of many of like any ways in which you may sort of just judge the truth of your heart. But there's love for you here should you want it. It is a matter of receiving it and of unleashing it. Receiving, yeah, that's it. It's like an energy of receiving the love, the beloved, and then unleashing your true heart's desire, which is also so beyond relationship. It's like, whoa, it's so expansive and encompassing of all. I see you standing in your beauty, standing in your truth, and there's like a feminine maturity that arises that allows you to truly see yourself in the mirror as you are. You're so very full spectrum. And there's an acceptance, there's an embracing. It's like I see you looking in the mirror, seeing your full spectrum self and like adoring it. Like, I love you as you are. As you are. You're perfect as you are. And through that, sourcing more of your power to where you are taking, there's something very sexy about a woman in the fullness of her emotional scope that takes radical self-responsibility for all of her emotions. That is so in the desire and the wanting of like all that she wants and is simultaneously in radical self-responsibility for the meeting of all of those desires. It's like this very, I'm seeing it as like this powerful, sovereign priestess moving through life, knowing who she is, so inherently worthy, so divinely, magnificently, miraculously perfect as she is, knowing herself as the source of it all, going deep within to source the power, not trying to source it from outside, feeling it all, experiencing it all, being it all, and taking radical self-responsibility for all of it. It'll be good to like just put the past behind you. Anything that you've experienced in a relationship before, just like place it where it is, where it was, release any fears around the heart or like hesitations. that are actually based on what has happened in the past and no longer relevant to the present, as the present is brimming with its infinite possibility. If you'd like, you can act as if, you can feel as if, you can behave as if this love is right around the corner. Sometimes we don't do that because we're afraid of disappointment. We think that disappointment is going to create more pain for us, more of a feeling of loss, but it doesn't. It's okay to like own your hopes, own your desires, like really embrace them and just play with them, live with them in our hearts. We don't need to protect ourselves from them. So here you're being invited into like really placing what it is that you want. Like it's because it's part of who you are at the altar of life. And perhaps choosing to believe that it's right around the corner, or just choosing to believe that it's already here. It feels like the most effective route of manifestation is choosing to believe that it's already here. And you don't need proof of its physical manifestation in the human form of another, like of a man or beloved before you. It's more about the embodiment of those energies in this now moment, really anchoring them into your present day reality. Like, this is who and how I am. I am in love. I am in love. I'm in love with the sound of the birds outside, with the beings that I'm communicating with before me. I'm in love with my home. I'm in love with the trees. I'm in love. I'm in love. I feel love. I feel love for myself. I feel loved. I feel supported. What is it that you want from this beloved relationship? Do you want like a feeling of being supported? Do you want a fun? Do you want a playfulness? It's all here now. It's all here now, and that relationship is also here now. You don't have to wait any longer if you do not want to. You can begin to invite it into this now experience in whatever capacity that you have the power to. Feel it now, experience it now, and be it now. Carmen, do you have anything coming up for you around that?
Oh, yeah. I just love you. I just love being in this space and being recognized and energized and permission giving. So I'm just smiling and making notes and looking forward to even fuller embodiment and permission. I do wonder, there is a guy I do like where I work in this small farm garden, and he's beautiful, and we're both just, there's something there, but nobody really acts on it. And I'm waiting for him to be the man. And I don't want to be forward or assume. And I don't really know if he dabbles and then he withdraws. So, what do I do? Just know that I'm in love with him? Do I go hug him? Do I just leave it be?
Ooh, you follow your highest excitement. Let go of any insistence on how anything manifests. Like, even if it's like an idea of like, I want him to be the man, it's like, I want him to be him. I want me to be me. And I'm so dropped into my heart and into infinite possibility. And I'm going to act and behave from that way. And there's
Great.
no insistence. It's like when you act from there, it's like you'll naturally discover, like, is there truly a resonance or like a compatibility here that I want to explore further? Like, you won't have to wonder. It's like when you act from that way, you'll be really dropped into the truth. And then it can be something fun and playful versus like, oh, I might be really disappointed if this doesn't, work out, or if this isn't what I thought it was. It's approaching it from that place of anything is possible and already knowing, it's like the foundation is already set for like, I feel loved, I am in love. So therefore I don't have insistence on this person meeting me the way that I am desiring in order for me to continue feeling and experiencing that. However, because I am love and I am in love, I'm going to behave that way with this person because that's who I am and that's who I'm choosing to be.
Cool. Yeah. Well, I'm I'm excited and curious to see how I'll proceed, how I'll evolve from here.
Yes, excited and curious. And it's practice.
Yes, right,
It's
right.
always practice.
Thank you, Danielle. I really appreciate you dropping in like that. And thank you, everybody, for holding space here.
Yeah, I feel like these questions, when we ask them in the group container, they're always relevant to everybody. Like, even if it's not about love, it's like, you know, a transmission that's relevant if we're trying to make more money or like trying to create health in our body. Like, it's applicable to anything and everything.
That's true. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Carmen. Love you so much and love that you're here. And beautiful question. I felt like a lot of energy moving really beautifully in that question.
Thank you, my love. Thank you.
Okay, thank you to our ethereal beloveds for this beautiful transmission. Thank you for all of the divine healing and activating energy that came through. May it all be integrated with ease and grace to serve Carmen's life and the lives of all connected to her. The Akashic records are now closed. Amen. The Akashic records are now closed. Amen. The Akashic records are now closed. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, God.
I just saw Jules' question. Is that an engagement ring I saw in your hand? No. But thank you for the congratulations. It's actually this really beautiful ring that I bought myself. And yeah, I wear it wherever I feel like wearing it. So I wear it on all my fingers. And in the moment, I guess it was on the, yeah, on that finger. Thank you. I do feel very in love though. So I received your congratulations. So, okay, so I know we're coming to the end of our time together. I want to share that in our next call, we're going to be going into, I want to have some practices around relationship so that we can start to explore from Akashic perspective how to navigate relationship in a way that is empowering and that actually catalyzes the change that we're desiring. So our next call is going to be Akashic prompts. We're going to open up our own Akashic records, and then we'll have a sharing at the end. And then the next one is going to be on the topic that Carmen so beautifully suggested in an email, and I'll be sending that out, emailing it to all of you as well. Does anybody have any questions or any shares before we complete our call?
Would you just confirm the dates of the next calls, please?
The July calls haven't been set yet, and the July calls haven't been set yet. The next June call is Tuesday, June 29th, and it's at 3 p.m. my time, which is 6 p.m. Pacific and 9 p.m. Eastern. If you guys ever have questions that you want to explore on these calls, feel free to email me or post in the Facebook group. I also have another training coming up in July. If anyone is feeling called to take it again, it's definitely a new and improved training. You are welcome to at a highly, highly discounted rate. Just message me. I'm also in the process of creating an Akashic PDF that I'll be sending to all of you once it's complete. It'll be complete by the end of this next training round. And most of the people who take this training do so because of referrals. Someone has told them, I loved this training, highly recommend it. And I really appreciate your referrals. So if you refer anyone to me, I would love to gift you a 30-minute reading with me. So that's my thank you to all of you for referrals. I also have a complimentary Akashic transmission Friday the 25th. I'll email everybody about that as well. And that is going to be at 2 p.m. Pacific and at 5 p.m. Eastern. Friday, June 25th. Oh, I'm super excited about this too. I'm hosting a 3-part series called Liberated Love with one of my best friends, Avaya. That starts next week. And it's not Akashic related, but it's relationship related. And it's all about, Carmen, if you're interested, it's going to be all about creating the relationship that we desire and how to use these practices of like self-reflection and sourcing the power within ourselves and letting go of blame and all of that to create the relationship that we desire. We have all these different practices, we have these lectures, we have all sorts of like juicy things planned, and it's going to be amazing. Avea is incredible. She's in a truly remarkable relationship. Her and her partner are my best friends. I consider them mentors. We like all sort of mentor each other, and we're also best friends. And yeah, it's going to be a beautiful collaboration that you are all invited to. And you can actually find that on Avea's website, which is avea.love, AVEYAH.love.
And what day and time is that?
That is it starts in 1 week on the 23rd. It's a 3-part series, the 23rd, the 30th, and the 7th at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, I'd so love to share with you, Carmen.
I love it.
I love you so much, Akashic family. It was so nice to be here with you.
Thank you so much, Daniela. So generous, so beautiful. Thank you.
I will see you guys soon.
Yeah.
Love you. Wishing you an amazing day.
Bye.